Hola! So today I am going to tell you about my sugar daddy experience. This is technically the second video I'm making this year. The last video I posted, I did receive some legal threats despite me having all the necessary and conclusive evidence. I need to speak publicly about that incident, which I still will do again, and this time I'll do it with names, screenshots, receipts, and nothing to lose. So keep your eyes peeled for part 2, I guess, of my last video. But as of now, I guess this will be the first video of the year that you can actually see and watch. So there's that. With that out of the way, I will tell you about my sugar daddy experience. This happened, how long ago was this? This would have been a few months ago. It would have been just after my boyfriend dumped me, but not too long before Christmas, I think. So I was feeling a bit jaded with men, a bit bothered, a bit upset, a bit annoyed. And I don't know if this happens to any of you, but you just kind of get in the phase of like, fuck men, they mean nothing to me, I'm gonna take them for all they're worth. If there's nothing in it for me, then, you know, I'm not in it for them kind of gig. So I was kind of in that mode, feeling that way, a bit jaded, a bit bitter. My boyfriend just dumped me. You know, I had started seeing this other guy that turned out to be such a loser, and that is a whole other video coming. And he's gonna love seeing that. They all do. Sugar daddy. That's what we're talking about. So I decided that I would take it upon myself to sign up for Seeking Arrangements, which was quite interesting. I actually saw one of the brothers on there. And speaking of the brothers, I did bump into him at a convenience store. But anyway, so I sign up for Seeking Arrangements. I'm on there. I'm seeing who's on there. I already like older men, so it's not that big of a deal to me. And, you know, a few guys message me. Some of them seem really cool. Some of them don't. And I'm not looking to hook, so I'm not just like anyone, anywhere. Like, I still have to be interested in you, but there needs to be a bit more in it for me, is what I was looking for at the time. So I go on to Seeking Arrangements, and this guy messages me, and it kind of works like, I guess, Tinder. You do get the option to swipe people, but that's not really the main focus. But you also can see people all around the world. So this guy was in Japan. Kind of looked a bit Eurasian. Most people think I'm part Asian, and I think somewhere down the track I am, but I just think that would be a bit odd for me to, like, tell people. And he was like, oh, like, what part of Asia are your parents from? All of this stuff. I'm going to be in Australia soon. Would you like to meet up? All of that. I was like, just so you know, like, I am trans. Is that going to be an issue? And he's like, no, I would prefer it. Which I was like, okay, cool. Things are looking good for me. So he comes to Australia. I was still working at the time. So I head home, I get ready, and I go to this restaurant that I really love in Marina Mirage. It's called Glass. If you've ever been, you know how nice it is. You know, it's just like relaxed. It's a good vibe there. So I meet him there. He brings a bottle of Chanel Mademoiselle, which is my favorite fragrance. I had told him that. It wasn't just a guess. So that was nice. I was already happy about that, feeling very good. We have dinner, we're talking. It turns out he owns a phone company. I'm not going to say which one, but he does own a Japanese phone company. And I was like, cha-ching, where's the ring, darling? Let's roll. But anyway, we keep talking, and I'm like, I really like this guy. He's got a great body. He's in his 30s, he's got money, we like the same things, we can hold a conversation, we all know I love a Eurasian kind of guy. I'm ready to go. I'm anytime, anywhere for this dude. However, he does not feel the same. Well, that's not for that night. So he doesn't want to rush into anything, and I'm like, first of all, who doesn't want to rush into anything with me? Is my first question. But I play it cool. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, cool. That's okay. And he's like, you're not actually an escort, are you? And I was like, no, it turns out I actually really like you, and I'm very easy. So, 2 + 2 = 4, let's hit the door, kind of thing. But no, he didn't want to sleep with me that night. He was like, no, we should go on a few more dates, get to know each other. I already really like you. Like, where do you want to go on our next date? And I'm like, oh, like, I know this really cute restaurant in Broadbeach. We could just go there. It's whatever. And then he's like, I'll drive you home. So I get in his car. We're driving. It's a really nice car. It's not as, like, it's just, low key. Like, I think he's a very low key guy. I don't think he likes to be like, I have money, look at me. He's not, I also don't think he's new money. When it comes to new money, you have a lot of issues. Sometimes they threaten legal action when they have no grounds to. They tend to marry up and blatantly lie. Who am I talking about? Right? But no, he seems really cool. And then he pulls up to my place and I'm like, oh, do you want to, like, come and see the apartment? I'm just about to move. So, like, this is it. You may as well come see it if you want. Nothing will happen. We know you don't want that. And so we go up to my apartment and he pulls out an envelope. And I'm like, I'm about to be asked to sign an NDA. Unlike I was during the incident of my last video, which you will hear all about in a few months. But he pulls out an envelope, and naturally I assume it's like some sort of contract, an NDA. Maybe it's going to be like a 50 Shades of Grey situation. Who knows? Better him pulling out an envelope than a gun, really. And he goes, this is for you. I will see you next week. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, he didn't actually look at the apartment. I don't think he cared. He probably was like, why is it so small? His place here is quite lovely. I haven't seen his other homes, but he really just came up to give me this envelope. He leaves. I sit on the couch. I open the envelope. Now, when it comes to a contract, generally people don't just give you the contract and hope you sign it, particularly if it's an NDA or something like that. So I was like, okay, it's probably money or, something or some, like, who knows? But I'm assuming it's going to be money. If not, it's going to be some kind of agreement or notice or something. I open it up and it's a wad of 50s. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I really wasn't expecting that. So I've got my bottle of perfume. I've got an envelope full of money. And I count the money. It's $2,000. I was like, oh, that's pretty good, to just go out to dinner. I'm happy with that. I'm not complaining here. And then I text him saying, like, I had a really good night. Thank you for the perfume. Thanks for the money. And he responds, don't mention the money. Or, like, we can't see each other. Like, we're not ever going to talk about money. It's just, it is what it is. I'm like, sweet. I'm happy to not talk about it. All good, baby. So the next week rolls around and we go out to Broadbeach. And I'm thinking, that probably just was, that was just the start of it. He wanted to be like, I'm who I say I am, and here you go, kind of thing. We go out to Broad Beach, we have dinner at this little Japanese place that I love. I'm not going to say where, like, I'm not going to name the restaurant because I go there quite a lot, and I don't want people, like, showing up and spying on me kind of thing, because that's definitely happened before, unfortunately. But we're sitting there, we're talking, he's speaking Japanese to the service staff, which was really cool, and so we got, like, pretty good service, I guess. Well, we always get good service, but this was, you know, it was more of like a, you know. And so we're sitting there, we're having dinner, I'm eating rice. I normally just get a rice. And and then we, pretty much the same thing. He drives me home, I'm like, so did you want to, like, come upstairs? You know, this is date 2. What are you looking for, buddy? And he goes, no, not tonight. Same time next week, kind of thing. And hands me another envelope. And I'm thinking, first of all, I'm surprised he's given me another envelope of money. But I'm also thinking it's probably not as much as last time. Like, why would it be? Maybe he thinks that it's the only reason I'm on this date. I actually really like this guy. You know, it is what it is. And I'm like, thanks, yeah, next week's good. Wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. And he's like, I think we'll have dinner at mine. Which was really nice. And this is kind of where things start to get a bit juicy. I know this has kind of just been like, ... This is when I've seen him. This is what we've done. So I head back up to my apartment. I count the money. It's $2,000 again. I'm like, sweet. I just made $4,000 going out to dinner. I have no problem with this. Any other man want this? Hit me up. Like, I'm ready. I'm ready to roll. Ain't no shame in my game, honey. Kind of gig. So I'm chilling, you know. I call my best friend. I'm like, is this guy okay? Like, am I taking advantage of him? Did he slip in the shower and break his brain? Like, honey, most men get me for free. Well, all men get me for free except this one. So that's whatever. And then next week comes around and I'm like, cool, like, what's your address? I'll come over. And he's like, I don't give out my address. I'll come pick you up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that kind of, naturally my paranoia kicks in. And I'm like, oh, this is, one, I understand this guy is probably very secretive and private. I get that. So I understand that. But also I need to think about my safety. I need to think about if anything happens, people are going to be like, well, you were over there for money. Are you hooking? You know, all of this stuff. So I share, you know, you can, like, share your location with other users. That sounds like other drug users. Like, with other iPhone users, you can, like, share your location and just have it, like, follow you. You can do it with Uber, which is really good, but there's a few other apps you can get. And you can also just do it with the Find My Phone. You can just, like, log them in and they can just, like, watch where you are. So we, you know, set all that up. I wait for this man to show up. I get in his car. It's a different car to what he was driving the last 2 times. I'm not surprised. It really, this man has more than one car. That's understandable. This isn't news. So I don't think anything of it. We're driving, we're talking, and I kind of don't notice how long this drive is going for, just because I'm actually really enjoying our conversation, and so is he, I assume. We're driving, and about maybe 2 hours later, I realize we've gone from the Gold Coast to the Sunshine Coast. So there's that. And also, I don't know where we're going. So there's that. I don't know how I'm going to get home if something happens. I don't know. Well, I mean, I do know. I just would get an Uber. But, you know, like, it was a surprise. He wasn't exactly like, yeah, if you don't mind, we're going to the Sunshine Coast. I did feel a little like I had been kidnapped, is what happened. And I'll tell you why I felt like that, because it did progress. Nothing like dangerous. Well, I guess it was dangerous, but anyway, carrying on. I realize where we are, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize you live this far away from the Gold Coast. And he's like, yeah, I do. I just, I had come down to see you and all of this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Like, I had no idea you were traveling that far just to see me. Is that something you would normally do? And he starts getting a little weird, like almost obsessive. Like, you know how in high school, there was always that boy that had a crush on you, and like you'd talk to him and he'd be like, your hair looks really nice. I really like you doing that. Like, he kind of got a bit like that, and I was like, okay, that's not what I signed up for. I'm like kicking myself. I'm like, honey, it was only $4,000 you've got. That's literally, 2 weeks' bills? Like, honey, it wasn't worth it. Like, either you're gonna die or you're gonna be all kinds of fucked up from whatever's about to happen. He's like, yeah, no, I just really wanted to meet you. I just really wanted to spend time with you. Like, your photos, your Instagram, your YouTube, like, it's also interesting to me. He has never mentioned any of this. He's never mentioned social media. He, as far as I was aware, he just, was talking to gals on seeking arrangements, was coming over from Japan for a while, wanted someone around. That's as much as I knew. And that's on me for not digging deeper. And that's not on me for, vetting this guy, which normally I would. And there have been times where I've had someone vet someone for me. That's a whole other video. So I start getting a little scared, and I'm like, oh, like, really? Like, yeah, and there's something I learned in high school is if somebody tries to attack you, a good way to try and get them away from you before, like, a physical altercation is start talking about your family and, what you've got to do tomorrow, where you work, your friends, all of that. So I'm like, yeah, my social media, like, it's pretty focused on me, but I'm really close with my grandmother and my mother and my aunt. Like, I really love my sister and my brothers, like, the people at work, at my job at the time, all of that stuff, like, going on and on, like, really, really, like, trying to be like, there are people that love me, there are people that will be hurt if I'm hurt, like, please don't do anything crazy, but without showing fear, because also I don't know what that will do. That could go either way. He could be like, well, he could be anyone, which in that moment I realized. And that's a very naive thing for me to realize when you're nearly however far away from where you live, and you're in a whole other city, and you're with a man that you really don't know and has just, like, pretty much paid you to see him. Like, I'm the hired help, pretty much. And I start getting really scared. And we, like, go down this road. I'm a little nervous. I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, the road is clearly a driveway. Like, I know that. We're not just pulling into some forest. Like, it's clearly a driveway. I'm about to be at his house, like, try and get the street address, maybe text it to my friend. Send my location, I'm turning locations on every single post that I make. I'm like everything, like, doing everything I can, like, without scaring anyone, just, like, leaving little hints and clues kind of thing. So we pull up to his house, we get out. It's a really nice house, as you'd expect. It's really lovely. We go inside, and we just, like, talk, and I'm playing it cool. I'm like, oh, could I use the bathroom? And so I go into the bathroom, I'm, like, texting my friend, like, by the way, like, I'm in the Sunshine Coast, like, I don't know what's happening, I don't know what's going on, like, here's my address, could you start coming this way? Like, regardless of if he has any ill intentions or not, I'm not comfortable anymore, I need to leave. And I need to leave safely, and I need to make sure I'm okay. So I do that, like, I send my location, I send every single detail I have, screenshots of our text, screenshots of his seeking arrangements profile, like, like, every single photo he's ever sent me, his Snapchat name, his Instagram name, links to his Facebook, to his business, like, everything I have, I'm sending to my friend and being like, get here as soon as you can, I am leaving, I do not care what his intentions are, I don't care what he wants to do, yada yada. So I go back out, we're, like, talking, and he's like, so, for dinner we're having whatever the fuck it was, I really don't know, I was too worried about getting out of there to even care what we were having, so I was like, oh yeah, cool, I love that. He obviously had hired someone to cook, I don't think he cooks much like myself, so somebody else was cooking it, and I just was kind of waiting, like, keeping conversation, just, yeah, so, when do you go back? When do you go back to work? Do you have family here? Do you have family there? How come you're on the Sunshine Coast? How come, like, you, do you go to the Gold Coast often? Were you, like, expecting to do that? Was that your plan? Like, how long have you followed me? Like, you've never followed me on Instagram. How long have you watched all my videos? Like, all of this stuff, really, like, getting into details, just trying to collect as much information as I can, while also, like, reminding him I'm a person, I have friends and family, there are people that love me, please don't hurt me. I'm, like, on the inside, I am shaking, I'm, like, about to cry, and I'm just holding it back, saving face, trying to keep my cool so that nothing, you know, not to provoke him, or anything like that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting there, acting how I think I normally would. I probably did look a little nervous. And I'm like, so, you know, that's a long drive. How am I going to get home tonight? And this is where I freak out, because he goes, no, you won't be going home tonight. And I was like, fear entered my soul, grabbed my intestines, and lassoed them around my neck, because this is it. I'm gonna die. Like this is it. I'm not going home tonight or ever again. I'm about to be trafficked. I'm about to be tortured. Like, who knows what's gonna happen to me other than this guy, but it's not gonna be good. So I'm like, you know what, I'm starting to get really uncomfortable. Do you mind if I call my friend, or I'll just get an Uber and go home? I'm really sorry. Like, if you would like all your money back, I'm happy to do that. I don't need your money. I'm doing just fine on my own. Men aren't that bad. I don't need them to pay me for my time. I don't need gifts. Like, this was just a bad decision. You know, shit kind of thing. And he was like, this is our third date. You know what that means. And I'm like, does it mean you're gonna, like, cut off my head and have sex with my body? Because that's, like, kind of the vibe I'm getting right now, Jeffrey Dahmer. Get out of my life. Leave me alone. Like, I don't know where we are. I don't know who you are. I've just made a mistake. Leave me alone. Like, I'm literally, like, about, like, the tears are in my eyes. I'm like, and I don't know what this man was thinking. I don't know why he didn't say something. But I'm like, look, I've got my friend on her way here. Like, this isn't okay. Regardless of what happens, like, she's gonna call the police. Like, you're going under. I don't care who you are. you have no idea, like, I'm like, this is it, like, I'm gonna get mouthy, and if anything happens, like, I'm fighting to kill because he's gonna kill me, you know, fight for your life situation. I just, like, lose it. I'm, like, going off, I'm, like, heading for the door, I'm, like, grabbing my bag, I'm, like, making sure all the staff can hear me, even though I'm secretly thinking, oh my god, like, you know, the chef's, like, in there sharpening the knives to, like, hack at my body, like, I'm doing the most. And he's just, like, he's not saying anything, he's not really doing much, he's just kind of looking at me and being like, you can't leave. Something I probably should have mentioned is there was, like, he speaks fluent English, but it's his second language, so there was, like, kind of a bit of, sometimes things, there was a difference. There really was. So, at a time like this, that doesn't help. Because he's saying, you can't leave. I'm taking that as, you're not allowed to leave. And what he's meaning is, don't leave, kind of thing. Anyway, all of that goes out the window. I don't care. I'm, like, doing everything I can to get off Survivor Island. Like, call Diane Sawyer, like, doing the most. And he grabs me really hard, really fast. This guy's quite muscular. He's taller than me. And he goes, you can't leave. Nothing is going to happen to you. And that doesn't help. That's not helping me. That's, like, I'm terrified now. I just start shaking. I'm, like, bawling my eyes out. I'm like, why would you do this to me? Like, he would have thought, this dumb bitch, like, what is she on about? To be fair, he did not tell me we were going out of the city. Regardless of what his intentions were, he should have told me we were going out of the city. But he didn't, and so I stand by how I felt and how I reacted. However, so in the, like, foyer area of his house, there's two, like, batwing chairs. He's grabbed me, he says, you know, you can't leave, nothing's going to happen to you, or whatever, and sits me down, and I'm like, oh my god, this is it. Like, he's throwing me around, he's manhandling me, he's gonna, you know, like, hog tie me and drag me down the street tied to his car. That's not what happened, because he goes, I thought you wanted this. And I'm like, I didn't want this. I just wanted to get to know you. I just wanted to sleep with you. Like, you know, I never asked for the money. I just wanted to be treated right. I was sick of being mistreated by men. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's not fair. Please just let me leave. And he's like, yes, like, sex. Like, that's what we're going to do. You can't leave, but, like, and again, I know how that sounds, because it definitely sounded this way to me in the time, you can't leave, we're gonna have sex, like, that's very rapey, was not his intention. Again, the language barrier kind of got in the way at an awful time for me, and, like, he's, like, kind of, like, trying to rationalize what's happening with me, but I'm just, like, in a state of, like, fear. I'm about to shit my pants. I'm about to, like, vomit. I'm crying. I'm shaking. I'm breaking out in hives. My friend is on the way. She's, like, calling my phone. It's, like, the most is happening, and he's just being like, you wanted this. I brought you here to my home. Like, just saying facts at me, which I don't want to hear, because the facts are facts, America. We know this, but they're still kind of vague. They're not like, I just brought you over, it's our third date. He's not saying the things I would say in the way I would say it, and when you're in that kind of state, you need to be told things in the way you would tell them. Anyway, the chef comes out and is like, is everything okay? He's this, like, Australian man, has a beard, seems really cool, but he also doesn't seem too shaken up. And that kind of made things worse for me, is because I know that if I was in somebody's home, they had hired me to cook, and I hear screaming and someone's like, I need to get out of here, like, I think I would have reacted a bit more than the way this guy did, even though he did help the two of us come to a resolution and an understanding. But he was like, is everything, like what's going on? Like, talk to me, like, what do we need to do? But he also wasn't like, he wasn't reacting in the way I would expect someone to react if somebody was about to be raped and murdered and held hostage. It was, you know, my interpretation at the time, because that's exactly what was happening to me in my mind, so, but he just, you know, like, calmed me down. The guy I have been seeing, again, stating facts, things are starting to get a bit clearer to me, that he didn't mean I cannot leave, he meant, don't leave, please, like, I thought we were gonna have sex. I'm like, I'm a wreck. I'm starting to calm down. Now, while this is happening, the house phone is ringing, on and off, like, continually. His phone's going. We don't know what for, but we have this pressing issue that we need to worry about. He's like just ignoring it, and what am I gonna do? Go answer his phone? The chef's certainly not gonna do it. As long as he's ignoring it, we don't know what the fuck that's about. So then we hear like cars, like multiple cars coming up. Again, we're at the foyer, the door is open, I'm like in this batwing chair, like rocking back and forth, like, oh my god, like, this is it, guys, like, I never got to say goodbye to anyone, I don't know what's happening, I just wanted to be treated right. Like, calm down a little bit, but still, you know, like, this isn't right, I need to get out of here. And I hear all these cars coming up. Again, this is a driveway, it's a long driveway, it's a private driveway. This triggers me the fuck out. Because I'm like, oh, okay, the chef is in on it. He just wanted to calm me down so nothing happened. Now we've got Tom, Dick, and Harry pulling up ready to, like, devour my body on, like, a hot plate, ready to go. So I'm like paralyzed with fear. I'm like, this is it. I knew it. Like, I shouldn't have let my guard down. Had I kept fighting, I would be out of here. Where's my friend? Like, this isn't fair. Like, you know, like, I've just come to terms with it, and I'm just, like mourning my own loss. And then the guy I'm seeing looks out the door and says, is there an issue? And I'm like, oh, it's the police. Yes, my friend's called the police. Like, I'm safe at last. Like, you know, it's not the police, it's his security. Which I didn't see any security when we went in, so I don't know what that was about. And there's still some alarm bells in regards to that, because why did I not see the security, but I guess, actually no, that would make sense, because why would they stop the car of the person that lives there? I get it, don't worry. He had security, and so security had been trying to call, because my friend pulled up and was like, my friend's in there, like, we need to get her out, she's gonna be killed, like, she's been kidnapped, like, I'm calling the police, you need to let me in. So security naturally had been trying to call the home. No one was answering, and, you know, she started freaking out more, and she's like, see, like, he's in there killing her, like, we need to get in there. So security, my friend, and then security again on, like, a little bike situation, like a Vespa. First security's in a car, second security's in a Vespa, and my friend's in the middle. It's literally like the motorcade, like Obama's pulling up, is how it looked. My friend runs in, pushes this guy out of the way, and is like, where is she? Like, ready to fight. And I'm like, oh my god, you're here! Like, you don't understand. Like, he was gonna kill me. Like, all of this. And this is when it clicks to him, because I guess I hadn't been saying, you're gonna kill and rape me, and you're holding me hostage type of thing. I just have been saying, like, why would you do this? I just want to get home. I just want to leave. Like, he would have thought, like, I just was terrified about having sex, which I probably should be at this point, but we all know I'm not. So his interpretation was that I was afraid of having sex, which still doesn't, why he was disregarding the fact that he took me to another city without telling me. But anyway, that aside, we both had interpreted this a little differently. I feel like my feelings were justified. I'm not going to apologize for them to him or to anyone. I'm also not going to forgive him for what he did. Now, security's involved. They're like, what's happening? You know, we're all talking. We figure out that that's not the case, that I was not kidnapped. I would still kind of consider it kidnapping because I wasn't told where we were going, and then I was told I'm not allowed to leave. That's not what he meant, but that's, you know, I would consider that a kidnapping situation. So eventually we, like, calm down. My friend's consoling me. I'm a little calmer. And security is like, do you think it will be alright if we leave? We will come back up and make sure everything is still okay, if that's alright with you, or we'll just step outside. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'll just, like, get my stuff. We'll talk. The chef is probably like, oh my god, give me my check. I want to get out of here. You people clearly aren't eating this. I need to leave. So I'm, like, crying to my friend, but, like, not as much as I was before, but, you know, just, like, this has been really scary. Like, I'm never doing anything like this again. Like, how could I have been so dumb? I grab my stuff, and the guy that I have been seeing is, like, gone. He's gone somewhere. I'm assuming he's just, like, gonna wait for us to leave, is just, like, removing himself from the situation. He comes back with not one, but 2 envelopes this time. Now, I know what's coming. I'm like, okay, cool. He's sticking to his end of the bargain. Why there's 2, I'm not sure. He hands the envelope to me, and then he hands another envelope to my friend. And just cool, calm, collected says, like, I'm sorry for, like, the distress. I wish to not ever speak of this again, kind of thing. You get the idea. And we're like, thank you for this. I'm not gonna say I'm not taking this, because after the night I had, honey, I'm taking all I can get. So I say thank you. My friend goes to open the envelope. I just will get it in the car. Let's head out. We get in the car. We speed down the driveway. We get out of there as fast as possible. And by this time, mind you, I have work the next day. I legitimately have to go home after all of this. It's like 11:30. I ended up getting home at about 1-ish because there's no traffic at that time, but, you know, talking, having a meal, refreshing myself, like, just by the time everything was all said and done, I got home at like 1:30, got to sleep at about 3, and then had to be up at 8. And pretend everything was cool, calm, collected, because nobody knows I have a sugar daddy, nobody knows I've been doing this, I need to keep this under wraps. Here's the thing, I'm really good at keeping secrets until you're not in my life anymore. Right? Just remember, this is only video 2 of the year. So we speed down the driveway, we head a little bit further down the road. It's not, like, the street is pretty much empty. If somebody wanted to come along and kill us, like, there'd be no witnesses. Or, probably more likely in this situation, rob us. So, I opened my envelope. I did feel like it was a bit thicker, a bit heavier, but I was like, he intended to have sex with me. He probably was going to give me more money. I opened the envelope, and there's $15,000 in it. Now, why he just has this in loose change also is kind of not loose change, but in cash, is kind of an alarm bell to me. Like, I think, maybe you don't own a phone company, maybe it's something else. Which I'm not going to get into, just due to racial sensitivities, and also, if I'm correct, I would probably be in a lot of danger if I were to publicly say what I think may be the real reason he has the money he does. However, especially when it's just in cash, I don't think I ever saw him use a card at all, so there's that. I probably should have... See, I'm terrible at telling these stories because I just go in and I'm like, I'm going to tell you what happened. I don't take any time beforehand to be like, this relates to that. I've got to mention that at the start to build suspense. I'm like, okay, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened, see ya. Anyway, back to the story. That also happens. $15,000 of cash, and I look over to my friend, and she has the same amount. And she's like, it's cool, I didn't do anything, I just had to show up, and I got $15,000. Obviously, the intention was, let's forget about this, please don't tell anyone. Ironically. But I was like, definitely, all that trouble was not worth making $19,000. It just wasn't. It really wasn't. I could have done without it. But I'm glad that he was like, here's more money than I ever intended in giving to you. Like, let's not hear of this again. So we're driving, we've like got all this money, feeling very Thelma and Louise-y, and just kind of like, I'm still shaken up. I'm still shaken up. We stop at Hungry Jack's, get the vegan burger, live our best life. I get home, I'm in bed, I'm like having a real hard time sleeping. I manage, and I go to work the next day, pretend everything's cool. I'm sure I looked extremely tired, but I looked tired quite a lot, so that I don't think anyone's first thought was kidnapped by sugar daddy and given $15,000 afterwards. I don't think anyone assumed that. They may have. If they did, wow, I'm impressed. But yeah, so that happened, and to this day, I still receive messages from him. I still actually receive money from him. Not a whole lot of money. Not. It's less than what he gave me on our first date. But I do still receive money from him. I guess he may be concerned that... Well, I'm being very careful about how I say this because I do know this for a fact, but I think that he may be worried that I will identify him in this incident and possibly open a can of worms to some of the other things that he does. And there's also a lot of cultural, I think, for him, and he has a very traditional family. I think there's also a lot of cultural issues with him actually paying someone to go on a date and intending to pay them to stay quiet after you legitimately kidnap them for sex. It was really stressful, and I went into counseling for it. I go to a therapist, just in general. I enjoy therapy. I talk to a therapist. that's fun, but there was a particular time slot dedicated to just talking about this incident. So, you know, there is that, and I do appreciate that he continues to send me money, because it's very helpful. It's very helpful, particularly at a time like this where I've lost my job despite... Well, I also lost my dignity working there, didn't I? But again, look out for my future web series. It'll be a 3-part special. You know, speaking the truth with names, screenshots, and receipts included. You know, just making sure that any legal threats need to be taken seriously. Kind of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much the story of my sugar daddy experience / being kidnapped for the first and hopefully last time. But yeah, if that's what you want to do with your life, and you know, I know a lot of people will say, oh, you should go to the police, you should do this, you should do that. I know. I know what he is and isn't capable of. I wholeheartedly do not believe that he intended on hurting me. At the time, obviously, I felt like that's what was going to happen, but it wasn't. So, I just don't think it would be necessary. If I felt like he was going to hurt someone, then 110% I would do that. I would go to the police. But I just don't think that he has that intention, so I'm okay. We have spoken about it many times since, and I just don't believe that he had any ill intentions. I think it was a huge misunderstanding. And look, I'm still getting a paycheck for doing literally nothing. He's not in the country anymore. So again, that also means there's a lot less I can do. But yeah, I hear from him every now and then. Sometimes we'll talk about that night. Sometimes we'll talk about leading up to that night. And I still, receive money from him. Not as frequently as you might think, but I do still receive money from him, which definitely helps, as I said. So, other than that, that's it. That's that in a nutshell. That's that on that. That's the cheese and biscuits. A few things coming up this year would be my music. As I said, my mini-series. I'm going to try and do more videos a week now that I've got all this spare time, but I'm definitely not holding back this year, and I'm definitely not going to back down to any threats of legal action. So you all can try your best. I know this will probably get back to the person that it should. I'll hear from them eventually. I'm really not concerned. I've got myself sorted. For those of you that did see the video and did mention the concern of me removing it, that I had removed it thinking that something had, that any legal action had been taken or that I was in danger, I am safe. For now, as far as I'm aware, but you know, those threats had been made, the legal threats had been made, and that's not something I'm afraid of either. I've got my grounds covered. I did have my grounds covered before actually making the video, just in case something like that happened. Again, I refrained from using actual names and referring to the business that it was. However, after some of the allegations that were made about me, some of the messages I received, and the threats that were made, I am quite confident in myself, in my representatives, and just in my content, that when I do proceed to tell that story, which I will do in more detail than I did last time, I will do so with real names, screenshots, receipts, and just as much detail that I feel may need to be included. So I'm really not concerned. I'm really not. If I have to see anyone in court over it, I will, because I'm a smart gal. And I wouldn't say anything I couldn't back in court, particularly not on camera. So, on that lovely high note, look forward to this year. Like and subscribe. And yeah, there'll be another video this week because I've got all the time in the world. Thanks for watching.